Okay, so this one's about Efilism and how it's often viewed as just this completely hostile and antagonistic product of a depressed mind, just completely unreasonable, irrational. It's just too negative to be believed, I guess, is how it's often viewed. And I'm just I actually hold the same philosophical viewpoint as Gary does, but in Mendham or Do Not God, however you know him. He's had a lot of different channels, but I just our philosophy on life is generally the same. I agree with him mostly on all points in regards to that. Can't really think of anywhere where I don't, but it's really just his delivery method and how he continues to try and further that that I don't fully agree with. I think the way he often, it is frustrating when you hold a view and almost no one agrees with you and you're not getting through to anyone, and people want to keep mystifying the issue and dodging questions and pretend they won the philosophical battle. Like, I don't judge him at all for his anger, his obvious frustration, but I just think a lot of times the attitude, the tone he takes makes it a lot easier for people to just shrug him off and say, oh, he wants me to feel guilty, he's just an asshole, he's not really, not see it as a valid viewpoint, a real just ethical analysis that you do in your head that makes total sense. I think holding an efilist viewpoint is totally compatible with having like a happy and fulfilled life for the individual, except just in the regards to experiencing parenthood. You can still enjoy your music, enjoy your art, even though you recognize that life is just this replicating molecule, that it really doesn't have any innate meaning, that your subjective experience is just that subjective experience. You still feel it, you still have needs, and it's nobody it's not reasonable to just expect people to just kill themselves, just realize that life is just this silly broken game and just kill themselves. Now obviously sex and all this is a part of nature. It's none of this is what's being disputed here. It's just this one ethical question, this procreation, this thing that a lot of people view as beautiful and a miracle, and it's just a simple ethical analysis. Children who don't yet exist are not being deprived of anything. They're not suffering. They're not in need. They have no need. And when you bring them into existence, now they're this physical thing that is decidedly a need machine. It needs. Gary's covered all this. Of course, it's just. It's really a simple ethical analysis. It's not just something some angry guy made up, to try to inflict guilt on you for your nature. It's just something that did happen naturally. This replicating molecule, after billions of years, it evolved like this, and now we have these drives and whatnot, that this mechanism that causes it to perpetuate. But we can use intellect to see that ethically it's really not good, if you really think about it deeply, if you're going to be honest with yourself about it, not just indulge in pleasant fantasies, and that we have the tools, we have the ability to not do it, that we can prevent it. But for the individual, that doesn't mean, just because you life has already been imposed upon you. You're here, and it would be unreasonable to expect you to just kill yourself, to just be miserable for no reason. Indulging, of course, to a reasonable extent, but indulging in music and art and having your nice little ideas, and philosophies, that's all fine. It's just when it leads to actions and decisions, that inflict inevitable suffering and just these unnecessary impositions on more life, that's really the only place where there's any qualm with how you want to have spend your own do what you will with your own existence. Just stop imposing it on more people. Not everyone sees it the same way you do, and there's really no point for all the suffering, because there's no end goal. You getting to experience parenthood and this and that, is that feel, I don't know, like something is dependent on you, right? And it's cute, and you love it, and it loves you. I mean, it's all happy and fun, but I mean, you know, this desire to continue your family bloodline or whatever, or, I mean, it's just a temporal desire. It's just a mechanism to get you to reproduce. And whenever you die, that desire will be gone, but the life that you impose still remains. And, I mean, if that life doesn't see through it, then it continues to perpetuate, and for no good reason. I mean, we can see that this is just a rigged, broken game. There's no end goal. It's not going anywhere. And we can see that it's, I mean, just rationally, it doesn't have to be so negative. I mean, it's just, we just make a rational analysis, just like we would with anything else in our lives. Of course, I mean, being a hard determinist, you do have to concede that, you know, all ideas and all viewpoints and, you know, every human action is a product of the physical brain. There's no freedom. There's no, you know, I mean, the people who are disagreeing here, I mean, it's a mechanism in their brain, you know, that's dissonance. They get this idea and it doesn't fit well with their idea of existence and value, and they don't like it. It's unpleasant, and so their brain, it's a mechanism. It automatically resolves it, and, you know, they just deny it. So I'm not blaming, I mean, I'm not angry at the people who don't buy it. I'm just really, I do feel a deep sense of conviction. I do feel this is true. I mean, it's objective. It's logical. I mean, anyone can buy it. You don't have to be an efilist. You don't have to be part of the tribe, of the club, to really get it. You know, it can appeal to anyone to their reason if they're willing to. You know, I'm just trying to come. I'm trying to be more civil here. I'm just trying to come at this with a more civil approach, and with, you know, without a lot of spite and frustration and you know, perceived guilt inflicting. I really don't even think Gary's philosophy is centered on guilt, like Anna Konovad would love to have us all believe. Guilt, you know, maybe you don't, you know, it's, as he's explained before, it doesn't require guilt. It's a logical, you know, it's a logical analysis you make. It's just another way to demonize his philosophy, you know, make it sound like it's just unreasonable and he's just being a jerk, you know, so we can all just shrug him off. And it's really not like that. I mean, it's not hard to understand at all. Obviously, the implications of Efilism are a little depressing. I mean, you realize that, you know, that the value that we place on life doesn't precede the life. It's life evolved and developed over time, and now, you know, most humans that live now, you know, have some sort of conception of value in it, but I mean, it's not inherent. There was no value before the sentience. The value, the perceived value, you know, is a mechanism to perpetuate the sentient life, and for no good reason. I mean, nature didn't plan it. Nobody planned it. It just happened. But now we have, you know, we have this intellect. We can understand it. We can actually see it, and we can do something about it. You know, we could stop it. It doesn't have to keep going on. There doesn't have to be all this needless suffering. I mean, there's no reason to build a line of machines whose only real purpose is to maintain and repair the machines. I mean, you don't make a machine whose only purpose is to repair itself. Why would you? Because it's cute and it makes you happy? I mean, it's objective reason. It's not, that, you know, you don't have to be miserable. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to, you know, see life as terrible. There's plenty of people who have perfectly content lives. That's fine. Life isn't just all pain. I mean, I would argue that collectively there is more pain and suffering in the world, but I mean, there are plenty of individuals who, you know, are content with their life, and that's fine. But that's just your experience. That doesn't justify, I mean, this argument being laid out, this why create a need machine. I mean, can you justify that? Why is it good, and why would it not be better to not do it? Since life entails inevitable suffering, at least at some points, even though it's more limited for some people than others. There is a lot of agony to be experienced, and that is experienced every day in the world, and there's no real good reason for it, and we have the ability to stop it. So, yeah, that's really, that was the purpose of this video. I'm just trying to explain the philosophy and its practicality and ending suffering, and how it's really not reasonable. I mean, it seems sad, it's depressing to envision a life without sentience, but that's only because of our subjective experience right now. We think, what if there was no me? I'm really important. I mean, we see that it's all a mechanism to have us favor one behavior over another, and ultimately reproduce, continue this game. And if we can see through it, if we see that it's silly, there's no reason to delude ourselves. I know a lot of people are, like to talk as if collectivism is, just this like socialism. It's just everybody's the same. We're all just these gray blobs. But it's not like that. I mean, it's if it makes me as an individual happy to have 3 children, impose life on 3 children, and I get to experience parenthood, and I get to live in this comfortable delusion that life does have this purpose and it's beautiful. Well, that's good for me. I feel a little bit better, but on the whole, I mean, there's real consequences to that, and my desire, my will to have this sort of purpose is temporal. Doesn't really mean anything, and I mean, it's not rationally justifiable. It's not me having these little desires and dreams satisfied just simply doesn't pay off the debt of me creating 3 beings that now must maintain their lives and will obviously go through hardships and suffer at least at some points, even though they may be overall content. I mean, there's just no purpose to it. I mean, you're creating a need that doesn't need to exist. Now they exist. Now they need this. Now they need food. Now they need water. Now they need self-actualization. But I mean, why can't I just leave them? Why should I bring them into that existence anyway without any real purpose? It makes perfect sense. I'd love to hear a good counter argument as to why this isn't reasonable and why this isn't something that should be strived for. And I don't mean that condescendingly. I mean, obviously right now I can't think of any. I really don't. I do feel like I'm right. I mean, this makes perfect sense to me, but if there is a different perspective out there, that's within reason, it's not, employing any kind of spirituality or appeal to emotion or anything. I mean, an actual reasonable justification, some real end goal that would justify all of this, I really can't imagine one. Even if there was no suffering, I mean, even if we were just all computers being pumped with synthetic dopamine for all time, I mean, would there be any purpose then? I mean, we'd feel good, but still. And the fact is, it's not like that. I mean, it's not. There's plenty of suffering, and as far as I can see, no purpose to justify it. So I'd love to hear some responses, and if you watched all the way through this, I appreciate it. I probably rambled and stumbled a bit and was redundant, but did the best I could. Thanks.